I think I was around 28 years old. I had just gotten married to my husband, Kyle, and I was speaking to my doctor, and they said, we just don't feel like you having a child is a good idea. We're at a church service one time, and they're like, your body is meant to have a child. And I'm like,
So one of the quotes that you shared is a child born to another woman calls me mommy. So can you please share that quote and why is it so meaningful to you?
I could very well not be a parent right now, and somebody else had to make a very difficult decision. My best advice is to address, first of all, what has gotten you to that point. Why is parenting your end goal? And then what do you want to do about it? Like, are you comfortable adopting? Are you willing to continue through IVF? What are you going to do to make sure that you are taking care of yourself along this journey?
And now it's game on. Today's guest, Dr. Julia Porter, also my old roommate, but that's a whole nother story for another episode, maybe. We'll see. She is a professor, a writer, a grief coach whose journey as an adoptive mom and empathetic researcher is helping reshape how we support and navigate loss. From Brooklyn classrooms, where we actually met, although we're both from Indiana, her story is one of resilience, compassion, and purpose. Let's welcome Julia to the Sweet Life.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
Yes, we're so happy you are here. Thank you for saying yes. I love your story. We have not really talked in so long, but we used to literally be roommates and saw each other every day.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your journey of becoming a grief coach and a professor.
Yeah, so I got my PhD from Indiana Tech here in Indiana and kind of pivoted from high school teaching to college teaching at that point. I have been in education longer than I care to admit. I've been an educator for over 20 years now. It's just important to me, I guess, always to give back. And I felt initially that was the best place to do it, to impact the most people through teaching. However, as I've gotten older, matured, gotten a little wiser, I've realized there's a lot of things that are lacking in our society and community. And I have a podcast called Moving Forward with Mia and Julia with my colleague Mia. When she lost her father, and I had already been kind of grappling with other people going through the adoption journey, we realized this was something we needed to do research on, and we started writing and interviewing people. And we realized at that point, once we started the podcast, people were coming to us and asking for help and support. So through that, I decided that it was probably best to become a grief coach, just to be able to properly support people and to talk with a little bit more authority on the podcast. So that's kind of where I am today.
Awesome. So tell me about, because I remember when you were a teacher in K through 12, when we were roommates. But tell me about from that transition of being in Brooklyn to finally deciding to marry and start a family and that whole process of adoption and what led you to that.
Yeah. So yes, I was a teacher, high school teacher in Brooklyn, New York. I've always liked kids, and I think I always just assumed I would have a family. I think a lot of us just assume that we're just going to be mothers. And there are many of us that have gotten there through some difficult journeys, and some people that may never make it to that point. So I had back surgery when I was in high school and kind of didn't think about it, I guess. I've always been restricted in certain things, but it's kind of something I didn't consider when becoming a parent. So I think I was around 28 years old. I had just gotten married to my husband, Kyle, and I was speaking to my doctor, and they said, we just don't feel like you having a child is a good idea. And I think just, I don't know how my back, I always feel like my back's like Jenga, like it's just going to tumble apart at any time. So just for strength, they were concerned that maybe it wasn't the best for my health or potentially a baby's health. So I have family members that are adopted. It never occurred to me that that was not something we would maybe look into. And so we started that process. I think because of TV and media, I thought it was a lot simpler than it was. Nobody quite prepares us for just even where do you start, right? And so we had to kind of find out, do we want to use a lawyer? Do we want to use an agency? And then when we decided on the agency, after we met with lawyers, what agency? How do we do this? And so it ended up being kind of a lengthy process. We adopted our daughter. I was right before my 35th birthday. And I think we started the process of just starting to research before my 30th birthday. So once we had officially started the process, it was 18 months-ish to when we adopted her. And there were a lot of valleys and just things that happened along the way. We did have two failed adoptions, which to me is not, I never thought that I deserved somebody else's child. And in fact, with one of them, I thought, no, I don't even know why they're seeking to place a child for adoption. And so those things were just kind of hard for us. And I think at one point kind of reevaluated, like, are we going to even be parents? And I think that's more common. Now that I'm speaking to people about it, a lot of people are kind of figuring out that this might not be something that they're going to get to do. And in fact, I had told our adoption agency, I need a break. Please don't call me. I just need a break to refocus. And we're going to decide if we're going to continue. And literally 2 weeks after that conversation, she called me, and I feel like the first words out of my mouth are, why are you calling me? I told you not to call me. Give me a break. I needed months. And she said, well, there is a baby at the hospital here, and the mother wants you to take it. And she's left the hospital. This is your baby. There's a blizzard here. We were like 2.5 hours away. And I was like, well, of course, that's how God works in my life. I feel like let's take this extra challenge.
Yes, exactly.
You can't just have a baby. You have to like go through all these things. And so my husband was out of, like, I had to go find him and all the things. And so it kind of happened in a way that we thought we didn't. I never assumed it would happen that way. I think I always thought things were
nice and tidy.
Yes. Well, in TV, you always see like they meet the birth parents, they get the baby, and then everybody's happy and things just move forward, right?
Yeah.
It's very easy. And I think one of the things that nobody talks about is the education you have to do to prepare yourself. So as you know, we are a transracial family. My husband and I are white. Our daughter is Black. I think there was a learning curve there just to make sure that we were raising her in culturally appropriate ways, that we're exposing her to people of color as much as we can. And that means like finding churches, doctors. I sometimes leave her with my former students.
Hairdressers.
Hair is the hardest. It was the hardest part for me. And everybody, this is a white person thing. They'll always say, you have curly hair. It must be easy. I'm like, that's two different ball games, and I'm not great at this hair. So if you thought that was gonna be
that part. Yes, I remember one time when you posted on social media about finding her hairstylist and going to a Black salon. I think that's so important, like you said, because you are a transracial family. And so it's really, I have found, from the outside looking in, that it's really helpful for the child to make sure that, they are somehow connected culturally and have their hair done appropriately.
I know. And hair is difficult. And it's so important culturally. I know. Also, just making sure that her hair is protected and I'm not destroying her hair was always something I was very cautious of. So I did her hair for a while when she was littler. And now as she's getting older, her hair is a different thing altogether. She's growing more hair all the time. And so, so we see somebody that, a woman of color that cuts her hair, make sure it's moisturized, does all those things. I do those things at home as well. And then she also has a woman from Africa who she sees that braids her hair. And that was really, really important to me. And it's important to me to kind of like leave her. Like, I don't stay, I don't hover. I want her to be comfortable in those places with people. And so her hair, it takes her forever, and she's with other people. And I think that's important. I know a lot of parents that I've talked to, that's difficult for them to like leave them. And I'm like, well, I think that's the hope of being a parent, right? Is that one day we do leave them and they can function without us. Is it sad? Absolutely. But also, I think that's part of being a parent.
Right. I know so many of my friends, quite a bit. Actually, I have a friend who literally just had a baby at 47. So, she was, hoping. And if it didn't happen, of course, adoption. But for you to get that news pretty early on, like, okay, my body, it just would not work well for me or for the baby to be able to give birth to a baby. How did that sit with you? Because I know for many women, it's very difficult when you get that news. And so how did it land? And then how did you figure out how to move forward?
I think it would have been more difficult had I have not been in education, to be honest. I think I had had kind of a history of parenting in some aspects other people's children. I was used to being with children that weren't my own and having a relationship with them. So I think I was very confident. I know there's a lot of people that do have that hesitancy about, will I bond with it? Will we get along well as a family? Like, how does that look? And that was never a concern for me. I think early on in my life, I kind of always thought like I'd have a baby that looked like me, but as an adult, that wasn't a concern for me, that biologically we weren't related. And it's actually funny because people say they forget, and I'm like, how can you forget? But I do. Like, I forget that she's not biologically my child sometimes, but I think that it wasn't as hard for me as it would have been. I think initially it was hard for me, not that I couldn't have a child, that my body continued to fail me. Things that are harder now are, like we were at a church service one time and they're like, your body is meant to have a child. And I'm like, I am a religious person and I don't believe that that's necessarily true. I understand where you're coming from, but when you say those things to me, those things are hurtful. And so those things continue to kind of pop up. So at the time I was devastated for like a week. And then I'm a very like, you got it, let's go. Let's figure out. So we want to become parents. We know this. Let's figure out what we're going to do to ensure that that's happening for us. So I think too, like staying busy, it was a coping mechanism for me, for good or bad. I don't know. I don't think I ever stopped to think about in general, but I was always open to adoption. My husband was as well. It was something we'd always kind of talked about. So it wasn't too difficult. I know it's harder for some people, and there's some people that it's not for them. Like they really, and that's for the best. I think sometimes they don't want to invest that education and learning how to, it's
Right. It can be
nuance.
challenging.
Yeah.
So your journey, you were able to kind of embrace it early on fairly well. But for a lot of women, at least women
Mhm.
that I've come in contact with, it's such crushing news. And I know
Mhm.
you as a grief coach, how do you coach a woman through that? Because I'm sure there's viewers that are listening that are experiencing that are trying to figure out, what do I do? Do I keep trying to do it with my own body, or do I, kind of surrender and say, hey, there's other ways? So what advice do you give to those women that are struggling right now in that sense of loss, right?
Yeah, and I think it depends on so many things. There's a lot of women that have gone through IVF. There's a lot of women that have miscarried numerous times. And so kind of making sure that they're addressing those things. And then going back to your why do you want to become a parent? Why is this important to you? Does it matter to you if it's your biological child? And why are those things so important to you? But I think the first step in this always is kind of moving forward through what has happened to you to get to this point. Is it infertility? Is it the loss? Have you had multiple miscarriages? And I've had to talk to several women that have had miscarriages, and it's been more of like, how much more of this can you mentally tolerate? Are you willing to, how many miscarriages would you be willing to have to become a parent? Some people have a number, some people it's unlimited. And some people after one, they're done. Like that's not something they don't feel mentally they can go through. So I always think it's really important to address those things that got you there. I was not so great at that, right? Like I said, I wasn't great at grieving the fact that my body wasn't doing what a body should do. And I think that was something I've been better about dealing with now, but hadn't dealt with at that point. And some of the advice I would give to of women that are going through that is to not compare themselves to other people. We're very quick, and not to necessarily take advice from other parents. I always hear from people like, oh, especially when we adopted, right? Like, well, now you'll have a biological child. Well, no, I won't, but thank you for that, because
Yeah.
we know that we shouldn't. So we're not going to. Or people that will say like, well, I had this happen to me and then I became a parent and it was wonderful. And I don't think people are ill-meaning when they give that advice, but everybody's body is different. Everybody's story is unique. Some women do wait until they're older to have children. I think that's more and more common now. We're very invested in our careers and our lives, and it's just something that happens, right? And so I think just kind of my best advice is to address, first of all, what has gotten you to that point. Why is parenting your end goal? Because some people realize like maybe this is how I'm supposed to be, and that's without a child. And then what do you want to do about it? Like, are you comfortable adopting? Are you willing to continue through IVF? What are you going to do to make sure that you are taking care of yourself along this journey? Because I think we get so caught up in things, right? With anything, it's not just becoming a parent, that we kind of forget our why along the way and kind of forget ourselves. And we're worried about, what does everybody else see? What does everybody else think when they're looking at me? And I think that's important too. And sometimes just to take a break.
Right. So what does self-care look like for you? Because you just mentioned self-care. And
Mm.
some people have lots of different definitions, but
Yeah.
as a grief coach who coaches women who are going through challenging times and need to tap into themselves, what does that mean for you?
I think a lot of people are similar to me in that it's important to really unwind. And sometimes people even need like physical touch. I'm a big advocate of massages if you can afford them and find the time, because you have to be quiet. You have to sit still. You can't do anything else. I feel like it's very self-serving for me, particularly, to have somebody that's dedicating their time to you, because there's a lot of people like us that are dedicating so much of our time to other people that this is like my 1 hour. I also love to read, and that's very important to me. I think I'm reading a lot professionally, and it is what it is, right? So oftentimes just taking time for myself, and sometimes like removing yourself from other people. If you can't be left alone in your home, that means going somewhere else that's important to you. Also, I think one of the things we often forget when we're struggling is pouring ourselves into our relationships and ensuring that our friend relationships, our family relationships, our marriages, if we're married. And that's important to me for self-care, whether that's like sitting down and having lunch with somebody. I've been really intentional this year about saying yes to a lot of connecting opportunities, because that in itself is self-care, right? Having lunch with a
Yes.
friend, getting on the phone. And then I'm also a person, and I tell people this, if you are a person, I'm super empathetic. So I can get dragged down by other people's things that don't matter to me. Like I can watch a news story and it can ruin my entire day. And so I'm a huge advocate of like, no, I call it nonsense or garbage TV, right? Like something that is
Exactly.
totally does not, I don't need any
You
brain.
don't even have to think. You can check
No,
out. You can just
no, like
check out.
Bravo or, something there and also that always makes me feel better about myself, because I'm like, these women have all the money in the world and they're still
There you
struggling.
go.
So
We're
I,
all at
yes,
some way, and that's so
yes,
true. So for me, I always like to encourage. I love everything you said because it's the same way. Girl, give me a massage,
yes,
okay, any day. And actually, I do try to give myself a monthly massage. And for those of you who don't know, many times, if you work for a corporation, you can use your flex spending dollars, your healthcare dollars,
mhm,
and it'll cover massages. So I've used those dollars, those pre-tax dollars to do that. Just a little tip for people. But one of the other things that I think is so important for us is to really give ourselves what we might need in that moment, right?
mhm,
So sometimes maybe we need rest. Sometimes maybe we need to connect with a friend. So really kind of sitting with yourself and saying, what do I need? Because we don't ever usually ask ourselves, what do I need? And I think asking ourselves more and more what we need. So it may be the massage, maybe that time to take a little time to read. Maybe it might be connecting with your friends. Maybe it might just be not doing anything for
right.
anyone but yourself. So that
And I
happens.
think one of the things that people are really bad about, myself included, is sleep and rest. And we know that like we need like that minimum 7 hours, and we're hesitant to do it. I don't know. Sometimes I think it feels selfish, right, to get a full night's sleep, which is crazy, or there's so many things to do. And more and more and more studies are just showing how not getting that sleep can just like bulldoze your entire next day. And so I've been telling people that I'm like, if you need to speak to a doctor to figure out why you're not sleeping, for me, it's like I need magnesium and then I'm out. And so I think, or I have to be very active. So making sure that I'm going to the gym and getting up early and doing that, because then I will be tired to get my 7 hours of sleep, 7 to 8. And I think that's something that we lack, because we just we don't do it. We get busy and we just don't do the one basic thing that all of us need to be
Exactly.
doing.
Taking that time, and that really is self-care, is saying I'm a priority. And that's one of the things that I honestly have been working on more this year, is making sure I get to bed, get my rest, drink my water when I first wake up, wash my face. Okay. There was a time where I did not even take time to wash my face. And so those little small things add up. Maybe you don't have the money to do the massage, right? But I feel like just some of that really small, basic things, like getting up in the morning, brushing your teeth, washing your face. And people are like, you didn't wash your face? I'm like, yeah, I like throw some water on in the shower. But no, I mean like put on my facial cream and like all the whole thing, right? Which only really takes about 3 minutes. But it's like giving yourself that time to do it. And then saying to yourself, I'm going to shut down at this time. I'm turning off technology. My family knows. And I tell my family now. And so was difficult initially with some of my shifts of really focusing on more on myself with my family, but they're starting to understand because that's a challenge too, especially with mom
Yeah.
and women. I was just talking to a friend and she was just like, well, I'll do all that when my daughter graduates from high school. No, baby. No,
No.
baby. We got to do this right now.
Well, I think letting your family know, because we
Mhm.
do this to ourselves, moms, right? We make ourselves so available to our families, and people, our families know, like, she's going to pick it up. She's going to make sure, like I said the other day, I was like, how lucky for everybody in this house that, you run out of toilet paper and magically that appears, and I don't think anybody knows where the toothpaste or deodorants come from. They just automatically, right?
Yep.
And so we've done that. We've set that up. And so I think letting people know, like, I need this time for myself. And even I had to have a conversation with my husband, like, I'm going to make it a priority to go to the gym every day. So I'll do it in the morning because we all have to get to work, but I need you to make sure that then you're home, you're doing these things. And so doing that. And I think if things are cost prohibitive, as an educator, I always like to bring up the importance of going to like beauty schools. They need
Mhm.
so many hours on massage and facials, and sometimes it's free or just minimal cost. And
Yes.
I've been telling everybody about that. That is like the best place to go, because you're also, those of us that are, service oriented, you're giving back and then you're also getting back
Very
something.
true. Very
Yeah.
true. I agree. And I have gone and I love it. Absolutely. And even for hair and
Mhm.
makeup, like you said, facials, all of that. So,
Yeah, having your makeup done
expensive.
or nails done can like
Oh,
change
yeah,
your whole day
it
sometimes. And
can.
theirs.
It
Yeah.
can. It can. Absolutely. So, one of the quotes that you shared that I really love is a child born to another mother, another woman calls me mommy. So, can you
Mhm.
please share that quote and why is it so meaningful to you?
Yeah. So I think it's just something that I'm very mindful of, is that somebody else has had a loss for me to have a gain. And I think that's important to remember that through adoption. We have what's called a semi-open adoption. That was our daughter's birth mother's choice, where we send like photos to the agency that she can receive, but we don't have face-to-face visitations. I'm hoping one day we will. But I think just knowing that I have been blessed with somebody else's child is such an important thing to remember. I could very well not be a parent right now, and somebody else had to make a very difficult decision for me to do that. And I think, especially around Mother's Day, I'm always sadder. Everybody's like, shouldn't you be joyful? And I'm like, no, because to me, also somebody else is missing out on this amazing human being. And I am just so, so lucky and proud to be her mom. So it's just an important reminder for me. And I think some people that are involved in adoption, they don't understand the great sacrifice that has been made by somebody else for us to become parents.
That is so true. That is so powerful and so well stated because it is. They have lost so that you can gain, right? And so being able to sit with that. And I think sometimes it's difficult for us as people in general to sit with our pain, to sit
Mhm.
with our loss, to sit with whatever it is that's ailing us. So, what advice do you give to women? In terms of just learning how to sometimes slow down, stop the busyness, and
Mhm.
to really sit with their emotions and how best can they do that?
Yeah. So personally, I'm religious. I do a daily Bible study. That's also something part of my self care that I've started to do. But I think also having conversations with other people and being, I guess, vulnerable enough to have discussions and to sit and think about the reality of, I think a lot of us have become entitled and we think we deserve things, but none of us really deserve parenthood, right? It's not a given. It's not something we just should get. So I think also thinking about just how we've gotten here, and all of us have a story, right? Even if you've biologically had a child, you have a story on how you've gotten there, and to kind of respect, I think, the processes and quiet time is important to me. I'm not great at it. I have just this year have a new goal of journaling. I've tried. I've not been great at it. It's not been an everyday thing, but I'm getting closer. And oftentimes if I'm grappling with an emotion, I love to write it down, what it is, why I think I'm feeling this way, and what can I do about it? Like joy is so important to me, and to find the joy in every day is so important to me. So sometimes it's little, like I do have like a hidden stash of like chocolate. Like sometimes my joy that day I know is not going to be anywhere but that one little piece of chocolate.
Yes.
I mean, it is what it is.
Give me the chocolate.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
But just something that can make you happy.
One little thing sometimes, right? It doesn't have to be big. That's what I want women to know. It can, that piece of chocolate, girl, can save your life.
Being in the car, I realized the other day, I was like, that is so powerful to make me so happy, is to like find some 90s music or just something that I haven't listened to in a while, and sing at the top of my lungs. And who cares who can see me? If I have my child in the back seat, I'm like, sorry, this is happening. This is how I'm finding my joy today. Yeah. And there's so many things. I think we think of like finding joy in the day has to be something big, or maybe we have to like go shopping. It doesn't have to be those things. We can find little things at home. Sometimes for me, it's like cooking is really important to me, and like making sure that I'm doing something that is fun, but also providing if I don't have the time really. But yeah, I think just finding those key things can really make a huge impact. And again, I've done a lot of like gratitude, like making sure that I'm expressing gratitude, being grateful for these things that, you know, we're parents, there's a routine. Sometimes it seems mundane, and you can wake up in the morning and be like, this again, right? This again. But trying to find that one little thing to be grateful for every day. Like today, I'm very grateful for this conversation because I'm hopeful that we are helping somebody else and we get to reconnect. And so just finding those little things can really help your mindset. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to get into talking about one of your favorite foods, which you mentioned is chocolate pie. So tell me the story behind this pie, because we're going to make this pie and show the viewers how to do it. So get a little skinny on the pie.
Yeah, so I love chocolate cream pie. It is something that my grandmother used to make occasionally, like for special things. And I need to be better about making recipes. I've just talked about that the other day. Like there's so many important recipes that like somebody has made for me that brings me such joy and reminds me of the love. My grandmother has since passed away. And like I said before, like I am a chocolate person. Like I love sweets overall, but chocolate is the key to my heart. So though I love cake, there's something special about, we get cake, right? We get cake at our birthday. We get cake at a restaurant.
You get pie.
No, we don't often get pie or chocolate cream pie. I've actually been like, pies have been like my love language for gifting recently, because everybody will say that. Like, I can't remember the last time I had pie. So yeah.
So what is it about your grandmother's pie? I mean, was it a certain memory, or was it just
she made everything from scratch? Like I'm terrible. I am not a pie crust maker. I don't even know that I would have that will. I'm like a rollout person. Like I'm buying it pre-done. Right.
Okay, so now tell me, was it just like a traditional pie crust, or was it a chocolate pie crust? Like what kind of pie crust? Because I need to know.
She's done both. Like one time she did a homemade graham cracker crust, and one time it was like, you know, that like starchy, you know, pie crust that, you know, has like all the Crisco in it, you know, that kind of pie crust. And I think just knowing too that that's such an act of service and kindness and love, is to actually sit and make something for somebody else specifically for them, knowing that they love it. And so I think that's really important to me. Like my daughter's love language is brownies. And so I'm always like, if I know she has a tough week, I'm like, I'm going to make these brownies that she loves. And so that has been something that's passed down to me, is food. And I know I'm sometimes like one of those people that's like, oh no, eat this, eat more, you know, right? Because that's
that's me too.
Yeah.
So listen, this is going to be fun, because we are going to do a rapid fire round. So these are sweet life quick bites. Okay. So I'm going to just ask you a quick question. Give me a quick answer. All right. So sweet or salty?
Oh, sweet.
What's your comfort food when you feel like you had a really hard day?
Bread.
Woo!
And cheese. Okay. I mean, combined.
Okay. Morning person or night owl?
I'm actually both, which is really difficult. I've been leaning into the morning hours now and trying to balance that better. But I love that quiet time when nobody else is here.
Yes, that is so key. Me too. I'm a morning person, and I love it because no one else is awake. Mm-hmm. All right. So what's a book that changed your life?
Oh, From Scratch by Tembi Locke. So if you haven't read it, I tell everybody to read it. It is also a show on Netflix, but please, please, please read the book
Read
first.
the book first.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. So favorite TV show to binge watch?
Oh my goodness. I always go to like Sex and the City or something old like that. I know that's not a powerful, great show.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that, Rumi. I remember that.
Again, I feel like it's like something mindless you can have on and not have to focus on.
So true. So true. Okay. So most used emoji. What's the emoji that you use the most?
The laughing with the tears because I'm usually like making fun of myself. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Okay, one word your best friend would use to describe you.
Oh, I think like goofy, unfortunately, or like silly. Yeah.
Yes, I definitely agree. Okay. Dream vacation destination.
Oh, goodness. Anything where I don't have to cook. I'm in this new like phase. I used to love Airbnbs and now I'm like, no, I want a hotel. I want resort. I want to be taken care of. Water is great. Doesn't have to be a beach, like pool, anything. I love water. So something where I don't have to do anything.
Water and food that you don't have to cook. I got it. Okay. What is a secret talent or something that would surprise people about you?
Oh, goodness. I don't know. I used to be great at hula hooping. I can read and type really fast. I have really focused on for a while, like I wanted to type the fastest, but speed reading is really important to me because I want to read all the things. And so I can read a book in just a couple of hours and actually retain the information. So I feel like that's a superpower.
That is a superpower, girlfriend. Good for you. Now listen, I can speed ear read.
Oh yeah.
I like crank up the speed on the audio and my family.
I do that too.
Like, how do you understand what they're saying? I'm like,
you get used to it. When you slow it down, they sound like they're in slow motion.
Oh my gosh, they sound. And then we went, I'm like, put me to sleep, okay? Put me to sleep. Okay. So finish this sentence. Living the sweet life means?
I think being authentic to yourself. Being the person, and I think this is something that comes with age, right? Being authentic all the time. It's so important.
So important. I agree. Authenticity is so key. Next up, we are going to get to hear Dr. Julia's kitchen confession. Woo, what is she confessing today?
Hi, I'm Julia Porter, and this is my kitchen confessional. And it's noisy because I'm never alone when I'm cooking.
Thank you so much, Dr. Julia. We loved hearing about your kitchen confession, honey, okay? So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for being here. We're about to get in the kitchen and make this pie and keep living the sweet life. Hope you enjoyed that conversation with Julia. Now it is time to get into this food. We are making some barbecue salmon tacos. With some peach salsa, baby. Come on now. That's going to taste good. And we are also making some potato salad. She said that she loved her grandmother's potato salad. So we are making Nikki's version of her potato salad, okay? So get ready. Let's have some fun. First, we are going to start with all of our veggies. We have to cut up all of our veggies. I'm cutting up the veggies for the salsa and for my potato salad. Just do it all at once, get it done. I'm gonna cut up all of these onions. Now, again, these onions are going to be for my salsa. We are making a peach salsa, yes, to go with our barbecue salmon tacos. It's such a great pairing. You got the sweetness, you got the savory, you got some tartness in there, you got a little bite with the onions. It is going to be so delicious. I'm going to cut up my celery. Again, I like my celery to be finely chopped, and this celery is going to be for my potato salad. We're going to cut our green pepper. Now, with this green pepper, we want to cut out that inside like that. And then now, these potatoes are already pre-washed for me, so they're ready to use. I'm going to go ahead and just dump these out right here. So I'm gonna cut these potatoes. When we come back, I'm gonna get to the jalapenos. But I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna cut these potatoes. So, see this? I'm just cutting it in half here, and then I'll cut it down the middle like that, and then we're just gonna slice it, okay? And I wanna have like a decent size, about like that. You see that? A decent size. And the reason why is because I want to be able to have a little bit of chunk in my potato salad. So you see, I will mash a few of the potatoes, but I do like to have a little bit of chunk. So this is about a good size, about a bite size for your potatoes. We have our potatoes cut. Now I'm going to take my water. I have a nice pot of water here. I'm going to add in a nice heaping of salt. So at least a tablespoon of salt. And the reason why is because you want to be able to season your potatoes from the inside out. Yes, the inside out. So I'm going to take a little bit of my potatoes. I'm going to put them in here. Another secret that you can do is you can use a bouillon cube. Now, I make sure that it's a gluten-free bouillon cube. This is what I use. But you want to make sure that you use a gluten-free one, and you can put that in your water as well. Now, if you don't want to use chicken, which I understand, you want to keep it veggie, then just use like a veggie broth. You can put a little bit of veggie broth or a veggie bouillon cube into there, and it's going to give it some good flavor. So we're going to let this boil. While this is boiling, we're going to finish working on the rest of our things. So while that's cooking, we're going to finish working on our dishes. Next, we're going to work on that salsa. The thing is, get that salsa done. That way that salsa has time to sit and marinate and get really chilled before we use it for our tacos. So, I have my red onions already. I'm going to do just a little bit of garlic. So, I'm going to grab my microplane. Gotta have your microplane here. Grab this microplane. We're going to do a little bit of garlic. And I'm going to just put this directly into my bowl that I'm using for my salsa. And I'm just going to put just a bit of garlic. So I'm going to start off with about half of it. And then I'm going to see how it tastes and see if I want to put a little bit more, because I don't want that garlic to overpower my peach salsa. Now I'm going to cut up my jalapeno. You can use a half a jalapeno, a whole one, a quarter of it. It's up to you. So the seeds is what makes it really, really spicy. So I'm going to pull these seeds out because I do not want the seeds in the membrane, because that is what's going to make it really spicy. And I do like spice, but not that much, okay? So if you like the spice, keep the seeds, because the seeds is where the spice is. Okay, so I'm going to chop these up finely, and I'm going to add it to my salsa. I'm using half of a jalapeno. Okay, so I'll put that over to the side. Now I'm going to cut up my peach. Now with your peach, I just kind of go around it, and then I'm going to go around it the other way, so you're kind of scoring it into 4 pieces. Now you know it has that seed in the middle of it, so no worries. We'll eventually get to that part. Now you can peel off the skin if you want to. I like to have the skin when I'm doing this. And I like to have decent sized chunks. So it's up to you how chunky you want your peach salsa. Okay, you can have it not so chunky. And also too, if you see, my peach is ripe, but it's not super, super soft. You still want to have a little firmness to your peach so that your peach can withstand kind of like the salsa and the mixing and all of that. You don't want it to get too mushy, because I don't know about you, but nobody likes to eat a mushy peach. I'm going to do 2 peaches in my salsa. So this is the second one, and I'll go ahead and get this one cut up. It's going to be so delicious. Now that I've cut up those peaches, I'm going to actually use some corn in this salsa. So it's a peach corn salsa. Now, if you don't have corn on the cob, you can buy it in the can. This I grilled the other day, so I'm just using what I had. But, you know, this is a great thing. Like if you're going to be grilling already, you know, and you have some leftover corn. It's summertime. I don't know about you, but I eat a lot of corn in the summertime. I'm just taking 1 ear of corn, and I'm literally just kind of getting all of that kernels off of there, and that's going to go into my salsa. Now, you see my bowl is starting to overflow. So I'm going to go grab a bigger bowl so that we can put all of this into the bigger bowl, because this little small bowl is not doing the trick. Now, I am going to also add a little bit of onions in here. Not too many. I have a few onions in here. I'm also going to take a little cilantro. Don't you love to say that? Cilantro. I love saying cilantro. Okay, so basically I'm going to chop up this cilantro. And we're going to chop it up, honey, and get it going. And we're going to put the cilantro in here. Now, some people, they have that, I guess maybe the gene where if you eat cilantro, it tastes really soapy or something. You don't have to put cilantro in here. I like cilantro. It brightens it up, gives it a nice note. Plus, you're making salsa, so you got to have a little cilantro in your salsa. Well, you know, you should, but if you don't, that's okay. Again, do you. This is your meal, okay? So, I'm going to grab a spoon so we can mix this up. And we're gonna see how this thing do, honey. I'm just taking my fingers and going through and getting some of this corn, breaking this corn up, because this corn is still kind of stuck together. So I'm just breaking up some of this corn. And, oh, it's looking good. Now, one of the things, I made my salsa chunky, because I like to have the chunks in my salsa, but if you don't want it super chunky, you can cut your peaches smaller. So you can dice them smaller. I dice mine pretty big, but you're welcome to dice your peaches smaller. Look at that. It smells good. Not only does it look good, but it smells good. Next thing we need is just a little bit of lemon. You can use a lemon or a lime. Whatever you already have, use that. I like to zest it a little bit. So I take my microplane and I'm going to zest it. Now, when you zest your lemon, you do not want it to get down to the white part. If it gets down to the white part and you keep zesting, you're going to get a lot of bitterness, and you don't want that bitterness. You want the zest. You want the bright notes. So I'm going to zest a little bit, get that fresh zest in there, and then I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to just squeeze a little bit of lemon juice in here. I'm going to catch any seeds with my hands. I didn't have any seeds, goodness. Okay, and we're going to just mix that up, and that lemon is just going to give it that bright, fresh note. Oh, all these flavors are going to just come together and pop. It's going to taste so good with that salmon because you got a little bit of sweetness to it, savory, like the barbecue sauce. It's all going to marry together in those nice layers of flavor. Okay, so next up, we're going to start putting together our potato salad. This looks so good. All these flavors are marrying together. Let me give this a try. That's good. That's really good. Give me a little bit of salt and pepper. I like to put a little salt and pepper. A little salt, a little dash of pepper, not much pepper. And I do taste the jalapeno, the garlic in there, all the flavors, the lemon. It tastes really good. So we're gonna take this, put it in our bowl. We're gonna put it in the refrigerator, let it get nice and chill. It's going to taste perfect with our tacos. Doesn't that look delicious? Okay, now we're gonna get ready to make our fish, because now that this is gonna chill in the refrigerator, we're gonna make up our fish, get our fish cooking, then everything's gonna come together, lastly with our potato salad. Let's get into this salmon. So if you want, you can remove the skin from your salmon. I like to keep the skin on my salmon. So I'm going to actually make one of these now, make one for later, but I'm gonna season them both up. I'm not gonna use all of this for my tacos, but I like to, if I'm already making something and I know I'm gonna eat it a little bit later, I like to, do them both at the same time. Now, you see I'm putting a generous amount of salt on here, okay? You want a generous amount of salt. Do not skip on this salt. Now, I use kosher salt. Do not use table salt. Kosher salt is going to give you a more robust flavor, and it's going to taste so much better, okay? Also, I'm using some garlic powder. I use powder, not garlic salt. Powder is going to give you a more robust flavor, and it's not going to make it super salty. So, we're using garlic powder. Now, I'm also going to use my Tony's. Listen, this is good. If you want just a little bit of kick, give you a little bit of spice, you're going to just put that on there, okay? More if you like it to be really a kick, but if you don't like so much of a kick, don't do that, all right? One thing about Tony's, when I use Tony's, it makes me cough. Now, we're going to squeeze lemon because the lemon is going to bring out the flavor. So we're squeezing some lemon on top of this. Yes. And the only other thing I need now is some oil. I'm going to grab my avocado oil and I'm going to drizzle this with some avocado oil. And then I'm going to just give it a good rub. That's the thing. We don't rub our seasonings into our meat or fish, whatever we're doing. You got to make love. Let's rub it because it wants to be rubbed. It wants to be touched. It wants to be loved. That's how you make love to your food. That's how you make sure your food tastes good. You got to rub it. You got to just, really get into it. Okay? That looks delicious. Look at that. So I'm going to put just one of them at a time into my pan. This other one I'll cook next. But if you have 2 cast iron skillets, you can do that. I'm using a cast iron skillet. Y'all know I love a cast iron skillet. I have a little bit of oil already in that pan. I'm going to put it in there. Now, let me tell you, pro tip is that you heat this cast iron skillet till it gets nice and hot, like 500 degrees. Then you put that fish in there. Then you put it in the oven. You're going to broil it. I'm broiling this for about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how you like your salmon. I like mine to be medium, so medium to medium well. I like it to still have a little bit of like kind of juiciness and tenderness to it. I don't like it to be dried out, so it depends on how you like your fish, but usually about 10 to 15 minutes, it's golden. But again, pro tip, get this nice and hot, and then put that fish in there. It will taste absolutely delicious, trust me. It's time to work on our potato salad. Now, one thing that I forgot to show you is that I put my eggs in with my potatoes to let them boil to make my eggs for my potato salad. I use 6 eggs for my potato salad. So they are boiling with my potatoes right now. Don't get a separate pot, put it all together, it's perfect. Now, I love using Duke's for my mayo. Now, this is kind of a Southern classic. You, of course, can use regular mayo if you want. Duke's just kind of had a little tang to it. So it's up to you. If you don't like this, you can use whatever mayo is your favorite kind of mayo. But this is the mayo that we're going to use for this recipe. All right, I'm going to do about, and actually you'll see it says it has a twang. It has a little twang to it. It's got a twang. Okay, I'm going to do about a cup of this mayo. And then if you remember, I'd already cut up my veggies. So I have my red onions in here. I have my green peppers in here. I also have my celery. So I have all of that going into my salad dressing. I'm also going to add a little bit of salt and pepper to my salad dressing. So add a little salt, add a little bit of pepper. Next, I'm going to add just a taste, not that much, but I'm going to add a little taste of sugar. Now, some people swear by sugar, some people don't. I just put just a little bit. My daddy always put sugar in his potato salad, so that's a little honor to him. Okay, I'm going to use probably about a teaspoon of my apple cider vinegar. You can use regular vinegar if you want. I'm going to do probably about a teaspoon of my Dijon mustard, and that's just going to give it a little extra kick. And then, of course, you got to have your yellow mustard, right? That is old school yellow mustard. Now, listen, we can't eat everybody's potato salad, okay? Everybody can't bring their potato salad to the cookout, but this potato salad you can show enough bring to the cookout because people going to like it. Trust me when I tell you. All right, so we're going to put a little bit of pickle relish in there too. Some people like to use fresh dill. I like to use pickle relish because it has a little bit of a sweetness to it. So I'm just mixing this all together. And then when our potatoes are ready, we're gonna mix this in. And I like to mix my potatoes in when they're nice and hot because that's when they're gonna really absorb the flavor. So I'm just mixing this together. It looks good. You can always taste it to see how you like it. I'm gonna take a little bit right here. That's good. Now, I do have a little secret tip, is that I like to put in a little bit of, I used to use anchovy paste. Yes, anchovy paste, but just a little bit, like maybe about a half of a teaspoon. And people are like, what's that taste? They don't know. But listen, I don't use anchovy paste anymore because my daughter is allergic to fish, so I can't use that. But I have found that miso, the light sweet miso, just a little bit of that in there will just give you just exactly what you need. So I highly recommend the anchovy paste, but if you are allergic to fish like my daughter, try the miso. I want you guys to drop a line and tell me what y'all think. Tell me how you like it, okay? And tell me how your people like it. That's more important. Okay, let me try this again. That's good. That's good. Okay, we just gotta wait for our potatoes to cook.
Hello, Sweet Life family. This is Veronica Tucker from Tyler, Texas. I wanted to share my perspective from the Healing Through Cooking episode. Just wanted to share that sometimes healing won't be pretty nor perfect, and sometimes you just have to show up and return to the place that caused you the greatest pain. I love watching Nikki navigate the kitchen, and her ease in the kitchen gives me great inspiration to go in the kitchen and try new recipes and to try it with love, knowing that it always won't be perfect, but every time I show up, even though it might be painful, whether it's cooking, navigating a tragedy, or whatever the case may be, but just showing up and giving it a try each time will perfect the thing that is concerning you or that you are trying to make better. So Sweet Life family, continue to live, love, and lead with your heart. And that's all you have to do in the kitchen is just cook with love, just like Nikki.
So what I did is took my favorite barbecue sauce, lathered on top of my salmon, put my salmon back in for about 3 to 5 minutes, broiling, right, on broil, so that it really starts to cook and that barbecue sauce marries into that salmon. My potatoes are ready, so I am going to strain them along with my eggs. Now that I've strained my potatoes, I am going to take my eggs out, put them in some hot water so that they can get cool, and then I can be able to peel them and get them into my potato salad. You want to make sure that you put your potatoes into your mix when it's nice and hot, because that is really is going to cause those potatoes to get all of that good flavor. Now, what I like to do is take a masher and I will mash just a little bit. I'm going to mash it, and what I'm doing is that I'm just mashing some of these potatoes. I'm not mashing them all because I do like to have chunks in my potato salad, but I will mash a little bit just so that I can have some kind of creaminess and some chunkiness in my potato salad. If you just like your potato salad all chunky, then don't do this. But if you want some chunks and you want some mash, then you're going to have a little bit of both. I like to say it's a perfect marriage. Okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and just get this all off of here. And now I'm just mixing it together. You really want to cool this for about 3 to 4 hours before you eat it. So it's up to you if you want hot potato salad or if you want it cold, but it's going to take a little bit of time. And this is something that you can make up in advance and then make the rest of your meal if you want to. Totally up to you how you do that. But yes, look at that. So I got nice chunks and I also have a little bit of creaminess. Okay, I need to get us, I'm going to use this. I'm going to try this out and see how it tastes. That's good. I'm going to put a little more salt. A little more salt. I'm going to put a little bit, just a tad of garlic powder. Not a lot, just a little bit of garlic powder. I'm going to mix it back together. Oh my goodness. That's the thing, you kind of have to taste it and see if you want to add a little bit more or something or not. But this looks perfect. It's like the perfect color, the perfect texture. All we got to do now is add our eggs. So I'm peeling my eggs. I add them into my potato salad, and I'm literally just kind of cutting it right in my hand. Okay? Nice and rustic. So no like, oh, it has to be cut a pretty certain way. Once you get these eggs in here, they're going to crumble up anyway. So I usually will leave like 1 or 2 eggs so that I can actually put some over the top and make it look pretty. So I'm going to mix this in, and then we're going to kind of clean off our bowl to make it look nice. We'll put a couple over top. We'll put a little bit of paprika on it, it's going to look beautiful. Okay, so we got that mixed in. Spread this out nice and smooth. Okay, that looks perfect. Now I'm going to take a towel, or you can take whatever, and I'm just going to kind of clean off my bowl so that it looks nice and pretty, because I'm going to use the same bowl, and you can use a paper towel if you want. I'm going to use the same bowl for my potato salad. So I'll put some saran wrap on top of it, put it in the refrigerator, and let it get nice and cold. So now that I have that looking pretty, I'm just going to take some pieces and I'm just going to put my eggs all around it. Now that I have my eggs on here, look how pretty that looks. I'm going to take a little bit of paprika and I'm going to just put some paprika over top. Make it look nice and pretty. Oh, that looks lovely. Look at that. So we're going to chill this puppy. I cannot wait to get into it. This is the potato salad you need at your next barbecue, okay? This is Auntie's approved, Grandma's approved, Mama approved potato salad. Now it's time to put this all together. I am toasting up some corn tortilla shells. So, nice and gluten-free, some corn tortilla shells. You can use regular shells. You can use whatever you want. I like the corn ones. I use the white corn. Actually, sometimes I use the yellow too. It really just depends. So, I like to double layer it. So, I have one in here cooking up. But while it's doing that, I'm going to tell you what we're going to add onto our taco. Avocado. Now, what I like to do is I actually like to keep my seed in my avocado if I know I'm not going to use it all, because it will actually help it from turning brown. Pro tip. So I'm only going to take a couple pieces. I just sliced it. I'm going to lift a couple pieces out. So that's in case like maybe you're not going to use it all right away. Just do this, wrap it back up, put it back in the refrigerator, and it'll keep and it will not brown. So I got my avocado. Okay, this one's looking good too. So I like to double layer, because sometimes it gets a little weak and it starts to break, so I like to double layer my shell. Okay, I'm going to start by adding in a little bit of this salmon. Oh, it looks so good. So I got this barbecue salmon in here. And again, I left the skin on, but if you want, you can always take the skin off. So I'm just putting that on there like that. Oh, look at that. That looks so delicious. So I got my salmon in there with my barbecue sauce, my barbecue salmon. I'm going to take some of this salsa. Woo! Look at that peach salsa. Put a little bit of peach salsa in there. I'm going to take just a little bit of my sour cream. So I just want just a little bit of sour cream. It's up to you. You can add whatever you want to this. I'm putting this in there. I got my avocado. I think I'm just going to do one little slice of avocado. Next, I am going to take a little bit of lime, because any type of citrus, whether it's lemon or it's lime, is going to really help to just bring out the flavor in your taco. Now, you see I'm rolling this. And I'm rolling this is because it's actually going to help it to soften a bit so it'll be easier to squeeze. I'm just going to grab my knife and we're going to cut it. So, I'll go ahead and cut this. And then I'm going to just squeeze a little bit over top of my taco. There you go. Just going to add that extra flavor. All right. Now, if you want, I also have a little bit of shredded cabbage, or you can use lettuce. I just like to have a little bit of something crunchy in there. It's up to you. Again, you make it how you want it. So this is my lovely barbecue taco. But with that corn peach salsa. Lastly, of course, I have to eat it with some of this potato salad. So listen, like I said, this is Mama, Grandma, Auntie, everybody approved potato salad. All right, so now I'm going to get into it because this is good. The potato salad, it's creamy, has a nice tang to it with that Dijon mustard. Our little secret ingredient we added. This is good. Let's try this taco. We got to get into this taco. This taco just has layers and layers of flavor. Mm. 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 The peach with the barbecue and the salmon, baby, you can't go wrong with this. Now listen, I want you all to have a sweet day. And what's going to make your day even sweeter is pre-ordering my journal, A Life Worth Tasting. Because guess what? We are making a life worth tasting because it's not all sugar, it's the recipe. So please, please, please make sure you pre-order the journal. It's a 365-day, 3-year journal. It's a commitment to making your life better. So make sure that you pre-order. And until the next time, remember, what we doing? We living the sweet life.
I'm living the sweet life, yeah. It doesn't get better than this. I'm living the sweet life, yeah. I'm walking free, I'm finally